lot of information coming out about delinquency rates, a lot of speculation on what's going on with foreclosed properties. It's sort of a theme of what we're talking about today. So we get into the second part of our news. LPS, which is Lender Processing Systems, puts out a lot of mortgage delinquency information. And, obviously you've got some decent trend lines. The month-over-month, August to September, is up. 7.4% of the mortgages are delinquent versus 6.8%. But look how far it's down from September last year. It was 7.7%. So the trend is good. It's improving. But here's the big one. We're down 30% from where we were at the January 2010 peak. In other words, the market has come down 30% from the worst. So I think by all expectations, barring a major recession, we've seen the highest rate we're going to see as far as delinquencies. We're on the downslide at this point. The combination of the mortgage markets and some of the things we talked about as far as cleaning out the marginal to very poor quality borrowers has helped. We've been in that enough years now that the people who are in trouble now are in trouble for other reasons other than the fact they should have never purchased a home.
Right.
Yeah, it is interesting, and I would expect that trend to continue. Now, the only wild card, and I'm not necessarily a big fan of this theory, but you'll hear a lot of people talk about the fact that they believed, this is almost a borderline conspiracy theory, they believe that lenders were encouraged to hold back delinquent properties from foreclosures and taking them back until after the election. The only thing that's going to ever tell us whether that occurs or not is whether or not the data changes. I mean, if you and I are talking in 6 months and we see that there's a huge spike in foreclosures and a bunch of properties all of a sudden go back to the bank, we'll then understand that there was something going on. But, like I said, I'm not a personal believer in this. I think we are going to see better improving trends over the next years than we will see a negative. Now, obviously, the fiscal cliff is the wild card in all this. If we go into a major recession, I think you may see an uptick again in distressed property nationwide. Again, this is not a very big factor in Austin. It's just not a big factor.
Well, I think it affects people as investors in Austin, taking away money that from our area to the other areas. But I think that's just part of life when we see this.
Well, they do. And in the article, the previous article in part 1 of our news, that CNBC, they actually give some examples where they're talking about declining discounts, where like in parts of Ohio and other places, you're starting to see that there's a lot of people moving to places where they can get 20-30% discounts still, but the money's moving around, and certainly is not in Central Texas or Austin. So let's talk about some news specific to the Austin market. There was a major investment. Obviously, most people, if you live in Austin, you know where the Realty apartments are. You've seen the billboard right there.
How much did that go for?
They didn't disclose the price. But what's interesting is it usually takes a long time to sell these major complexes. Just because they're very buyers that can take them down. They put this on the market, if you remember, in July.
Right.
It was not put on the market a year ago or 6 months ago. And this is the largest acquisition for this firm. They're out of Los Angeles. And it's a major bet on their part in Central Texas and Austin. They now own, if I remember correctly from the article, 6 or 7 major complexes around the marketplace. And obviously, Realty being the biggest one. And what was interesting is their executive said their main attraction in the Central Texas Austin market was the significant economic and population growth, something we talk about. And the same thing that's driving it, and I would describe Realty, like a lot of these complexes, as if you're not going to rent a house, which not everybody can do for a couple reasons. One, there's just not that many to rent if you had to because of financing. They're going to have significant demand for their units for the foreseeable future, just because of that population growth, the dynamic of everybody not being able to get a mortgage, their proximity to the Apple campus and the rest of that corridor of office up there. So I think it's a major sale, and I think it's, again, confirmation of how strong the Austin market is viewed by sophisticated investors.
That's an absolutely fantastic portfolio property too. That was, that was developed by Jerry Jones and the Cowboys.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, that's at one time you could see the occasional football player up there on their